next guest, a member of Congress, will be in one of those classified briefings Kristen just mentioned. He's also a U.S. Marine Corps veteran, sits on the Armed Services Committee. Congressman Seth Moulton joins me now. Congressman, thanks very much for being here. I understand that you received a private briefing today as a member of the Armed Services Committee. Obviously, I won't ask you to reveal anything that you may have learned in that briefing. I'm wondering your reaction is to this reporting that the Trump administration will limit sharing classified information with Congress going forward after this leak, and more importantly, the bigger picture here on how they are handling the dissemination of information about this strike that went on.
Well, let's be clear about two things. The first is that limiting the classified information you share with Congress is violating the Constitution. We have a constitutional duty and responsibility to provide oversight of the executive, and that's what gives us access to classified information. But I also want to be clear that if anyone did share this classified information willfully and recklessly, that they should be prosecuted. And anyone who shares classified information willfully and recklessly should be prosecuted, starting, by the way, with the Secretary of Defense. Because I get classified briefings almost every single day I'm in Washington, Anderson, and I don't text the details to my friends and family, as the Secretary has done and has been proven. So if accountability starts at the top, then the first American who should be prosecuted for sharing classified information is, in fact, Secretary Pete Hegseth himself.
What are the national security implications of limiting that kind of information to you and your colleagues? I mean, because someone listening to this might say, well, look, this thing was put on the CNET. I don't know who leaked this information. I'm not privy to that. But you know, if it was leaked by somebody in Congress, why then disseminate to Congress at all? That's what a hypothetical.
Well, first of all, most leaks that have happened in the past 6 months have come from the administration. I mean, there have been a lot of leaks of classified information from the Secretary and his staff themselves. And to be clear, the Pentagon had access to this report for a period of time before it was shared with Congress. So we don't know who leaked the classified information. But what the president clearly wants to do is maintain control over the information so that he can politicize his actions, regardless of what the actual facts on the ground are. And that's dangerous for our troops. That's dangerous for our national security. It's dangerous for Israel's national security. Because if it is true that this DIA report, as it's been leaked, is accurate, and the president, when he says that these sites have been obliterated, is not actually telling the truth. If that is the case, then he is putting our national security and Israel's at risk by minimizing the state or the extent to minimizing the current status of Iran's nuclear program, which we all acknowledge is a threat to us and to our allies.
The president is, and the Secretary of Defense and those around the president are intentionally conflating questioning or just asking questions about the effectiveness of the strikes with criticizing the pilots and crew members and everybody else who carried out the mission. He announced the Secretary of Defense is going to hold a briefing tomorrow to, quote, fight for the dignity of our great American pilots. You served. Is anybody questioning, in your mind, is anybody questioning the dignity of the pilots who conducted this mission? Because I've heard none of that in any of the reporting by any network or newspaper about this.
No, that's completely absurd. I mean, I've been on plenty of unsuccessful missions in Iraq. You might say that just about every mission in the Vietnam War was unsuccessful, given the results of that war. Does that mean there weren't American heroes who did those missions selflessly and oftentimes at the risk of their own lives or losing their lives? No. I mean, Donald Trump has no understanding of what it means to serve on the ground in the military. And, I think what's going on here is that this is the most military action Donald Trump has ever seen in his life, and so he's excited about it, and he wants to declare victory. But as someone who has served on the ground, I'll tell you, we rely on intelligence. We want to go into operations having solid intelligence. And the only thing worse than having bad intelligence is having commanders above you who lie about the intelligence that you have.
And I'll just throw in, by the way, you used the term unsuccessful. No one in this reporting at CNN has used the term unsuccessful, we should point out. It was a successful mission ordnance was dropped exactly where it was supposed to be dropped. Pilots did a remarkable job flying all the way around the world and back without stopping safely. Massive damage was done. You can term it whatever you want. The job was done, and it was done. It was executed, it seems, to perfection. The question is, what were the results of it? And that is what the world is waiting to find out. I mean, it seems to me very simple. It seems to now be some sort of personal thing with the president, and he feels this is about attacking him, when it's simply about what is accurate about what happened on the ground. Everybody needs to and wants to know.
That's right. I mean, I can't understand the mind of the president because I'm not a child psychologist. But the reality here is that it was a brilliantly executed mission. And there have been news reports about how remarkable it is that these pilots could fly all the way around the globe, link up with refuelers, link up with fighters, drop these bombs exactly where they were intended. But it is important to be honest about the results, because at the end of the day, we all agree that we do not want Iran to have a nuclear weapon. And the most important piece of this is whether, as the CIA operations officer you just interviewed said, whether this brings the Iranians back to the negotiating table so that we can get an intrusive inspections regime. So that regardless of whether this destroyed 80% or 95% or whatever of their nuclear program today, we can ensure through enforceable and intrusive inspections that they do not get a nuclear weapon in the future. This is not just about today, Anderson, it's about going forward. And the only way we ensure that is through a diplomatic agreement.
Yeah. Congressman Moulton, I appreciate your time. Thank you.